Hey there folks, good morning. Alex Laux here, and welcome to a very special edition of the Classic Camera Revival. Today we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of the social photo walk group that saw this podcast created. That's right, this month marks the 10th anniversary of the Toronto Film Shooters Meetup. And like this podcast, it's something that I never expected would get this popular, it's so weird to think that this is something that I created on a whim, and it's just become one of the key social groups within the film photography community here in the Greater Toronto area. So I am on the highway right now heading towards Guelph, Ontario for one of two 10th anniversary photo walks this month. The other one's being hosted by Bill Smith in Toronto at the end of July. And if you didn't make this one today, there is still time for you to head out and give it a shot. So that's my cue to roll the intro, and I will see you in the Royal City. And welcome back. If you're joining us through the CCR podcast or through Alex's YouTube channel, I highly recommend that you subscribe to either one if you haven't. So, for those wondering, what is the Toronto Film Shooters Meetup? Well, that's a group of people that I started about 10 years ago. It was in response to a post on the old analog photography user group forum, the Toronto Subforum, where they were mentioning that there wasn't enough film photography focused meetups in Toronto. Well, I was a young 30-year-old just getting my feet wet in running social groups. I had done Christian youth organizations in the past, and I really wanted to start meeting other film photographers also. Now, I was already deep into listening to the film photography podcast. I was on Flickr, I was on APUG, I was on a couple of other photography forums. I'm not sure if I remember which ones. But I thought, you know what? I could do this. So I put out the call and said, hey, look, I'm going to commit to running 4 meetups a year: summer, spring, fall, winter. And if people wanted to join in, great. So our first event happened July 2013, and it was a hit. The next one, not so much, and the one after that, I was the only one there. But like anything, I quickly learned what to do with a good photo walk. And here we are 10 years later. Now the thing is, I haven't been that active in the photo walk group. That's because I've become a dad, and Saturdays has become time for family. Which, you know what, there is nothing wrong with that. So I'm just super excited that I am finally able to get out here again. So why Guelph? Well, first of all, Toronto Film Shooters Meetup takes place a lot in Toronto, and we are a little bit more than just Toronto itself. We have representation all throughout North America and even a few international attendees. We've done a meet where we've met up with our sister group in Kingston, and we've had someone from Europe, we've had people from the States. We've even done a few virtual meetups, and yes, that is one thing that I'm super happy about, that our event even survived the restrictions here in Ontario from the COVID-19 pandemic. So, what are we going to be doing on today's episode? Well, I am going to be chatting with a bunch of those who are in attendance with the meet about the camera that they have brought along. So, without further ado, I'm on my way to the pub, and I will see you there. So what makes photo walks important today? Well, photography as a whole is a very lonely hobby. We often are out early in the morning, we're shooting at odd times in odd places, and it does get very lonely, and especially after the isolations we've had these past 3 years, I think photo walks are going to be much more important in the coming days, because again, as photography is a hobby that a lot of people just run solo, it's always great to get out there and experience that camaraderie with people with similar interests. And you never know, you might seek out some inspiration, you might find a new piece of kit that you want to acquire, a new lens, a new film stock that people are working with. I know that a lot of the inspiration behind the Toronto Film Shooters came from two places. One, there was the FPP. They held some meetups prior to the Toronto Film Shooters group. I actually helped run one for them, a joint operation with APUG. There was another APUG event that took place before TFS got formed. And of course, the big one is Photo Stock, which is run up in the UP, up in Harbor Springs, Cross Village, Michigan, by the amazing Bill Schwab. I've had the opportunity to go many times, and 2012 was the first time I actually went to a Photo Stock event. And meeting all sorts of different photographers has just been wonderful. And definitely think that going forward, I'm glad that Toronto Film Shooters has weathered the pandemic. And let's hope for another whole 10 years. And definitely want to see a 15th and a 20th anniversary photo walk being run for them. So, Francesco.
Yes.
Tell me what camera you have with you today.
So, Netar, can't remember the model. Netar medium format.
Oh yeah, nice. So that's the
And,
6x6 version, right?
Yes. And another Italian older camera that is a Ferrania Condor 2.
Oh
A
wow,
rangefinder version of it.
nice. And what films do you have loaded today?
So this one is Rolly 80.
Okay,
And the one over here is the APX 400.
nice. And what do you like about those films?
The APX is going to be the first time, so we're going to see.
Nice.
And the Rolly 80 is also the first time.
Okay, awesome.
Reasonable ISO,
Yep.
and they sound like a fine-grained film that I like.
Excellent. Hey Calvin.
Hey, Alex.
It's great to, I think, have we met before?
No,
No, so
No.
it's great to finally put a face to the name.
thank you.
Love your work in the group, especially
you.
the stuff you recently did on your trip to the UK. So what camera do you have with you today?
I'm shooting with the F2 and a 28mm F2.
Nice. And what film do you have loaded?
Superior 400.
Oh wow, going
Yes.
fast today on a sunny day.
Yes.
Oh well, at least the F2 can support that.
Yes.
So what do you like the most about the F2?
I think it's just the feel. You know, when you press that shutter, it's just out of I don't know, the spring or it's just the feel of the camera, the weight of the camera. This feels like something substantial that
Nice.
you're shooting with. Yeah.
Nice. And what do you like the best about a Superior 400?
Versatility, like the colors. Yeah, I think I've produced some pretty good images with 400. So
Nice.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey Andrew.
Hello.
What camera do you have with you today?
I have my Nikon F3.
Very nice. And what do you like about the F3?
The feel of it. I do have quite a few other Nikons, but there's just something about the F3 in hand, which I think is nicer than the the FE or the FM cameras.
They definitely are a solid camera. I kind of miss mine, but you know what? I have the F5. I'm happy. And what film do you have loaded today?
HP5, which I think might not have been the best choice today, but I got an orange filter on to help knock things down a bit.
Okay. And what do you like about HP5s?
I think fundamentally it's cheaper than Tri-X. Because once upon a time I would have happily based my personality around, I'm a Tri-X shooter, but that's just so expensive now. I had to go with HP5, and to be honest, I actually can't tell the difference.
It's
Tri-X sounds
very
cooler when
difficult.
you say it.
So have you ever shot HP5 with an orange filter before?
Usually, if the sun
Okay.
allows it, I will. I do like the orange filter on a fast film.
Okay. Very nice. Hey James.
Hey Alex, how are you?
I'm good. What camera do you have with you today?
I have the zombie apocalypse version of the electronic camera you want to have in that situation. It's a Pentax 67-2, and today, at least right now for the moment, I'm shooting the 105 2.4 on it.
So what do you like about the 6.7.2?
Well, aside from the really large negative that you get and the 8:10 aspect ratio, this particular version of this camera I have has the AE head on it, so a portrait guy like me really likes that because you can, when you're shooting portraits, you can quickly adjust the compensation. Has a 3-stop exposure compensation dial on it, which I find super handy. It's a great camera. It's big. It has the same sort of form factor as your typical 35mm. So all around, a really great camera. As far as, like, you know, drawbacks might be, it is heavy. It's a beast. Mirror slap is something you got to contend with. You got to be really steady with it, really use your core, get in a good shooting position, because the mirror slap will come back to bite you in the rear end. So other than that, great all-around camera, excellent medium format camera, one of my favorites in the stable for sure.
So you have the 105 2.4 on it. It's often called the legendary lens for the Pentax 6.7. What makes that lens so legendary?
Well, I think the two like great sort of aspects of the lens are the light fall off that you get wide open, like the really nice vignetting that you get, as well as the out of focus area. It's just really, really sharp in the center, and you get some really, really nice out of focus areas around the edges. Just a lot of stuff that you just, you know, other lenses just don't produce. Contrast is really, really good. All around a great portrait lens. I like to use it for kind of all around anything at the 105 focal length on a 6x7. You know, it's a great all-around camera, kind of equivalent to like an 85 in the 35 world, I think. And for me, like the 85 focal length when it comes to 135 really speaks to me as a shooter. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the way I sort of see things photographically. So.
And what film do you have loaded today?
Well, of course, it would be my favorite film, and this would be the original OG version of Acros that I am shooting at 80 ISO. So for those of you that are shooting the older version of Acros, I really recommend shooting at 80 and developing normal with it.
Hey Rob.
How's it going?
Good. What are you shooting today?
Today I'm shooting with my Canon Elan 7NE with some HP5 inside.
Nice. And what do you like about the camera?
The eye focus is kind of cool. I was saying that the way to make it work best for me is that you combine it with back button autofocus.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I look at, I just hit the button and then it'll focus on that specific spot. So it's a lot less hunting than just relying on your eyes to do the work.
Nice. And what lens are you mounting today?
This is the Canon 17-40, which is one of my favorite lenses of all time.
Nice. I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great when we're shooting giant architecture like this.
Yeah. What do you like about HP5?
I just love the latitude and the speed. You know, even today it's an overcast day, but I'm getting decent shutter speeds and apertures out of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey Alex, how's it going?
I'm good, Bill. What do you have shooting with today?
Oh, I am running with two bodies today here in Guelph in this sort of weird, sort of light kind of day. My black Nikon F high level prism from 1960. You've heard stories about this camera. Here's the camera. And then in a fit of gas recently, a Burlington camera, the Nikon S2. Both are running with 50 f2 lenses. This one has the HC Nikkor, which is the classic one you get with these bodies if you find one on eBay. This one, again, another Burlington camera, fine, a Tickmark Nikkor S50 f2, which is a lovely lens, and I'm running with both Kodak Ektar 100 in this, the black body, and ADOC CHS 102 in this body.
So what do you like about CHS 102?
Oh, it's a beautiful film. It's not, it can be, you got to be a little more mindful with the lighting, because it does, you know, it won't take the same kind of abuse of say Ilford HP4 or even Kentner 100 for that matter. But again, it's a lovely film. You process it right, especially in FX39, it looks great. Now, Ektar 100 doesn't need any introduction. Is a very fine-grained color film, color negative film that uses Vision's Kodak Ektar. Basic. Sorry, let me redo that. It uses the Kodak Vision film technology, so it's for civilian use. So if you're not shooting with any of the re-spooled motion picture stock, you're going to get the close enough experience that you can take to any neighborhood C41 lab, and they can do the processing without making it look ugly.
Hey James, and what are you shooting with today?
Well, I've got my latest acquisitions. I got a pair of Nikon FM2s. One of them with a standard 51.8, shooting some Fomapan 200, and the other one with a Tamron Adaptol 17 3.5, where I'm shooting some expired Kodak Elite Chrome 200. And I've got a couple of spares in the back bag if anything strikes my fancy. I've got the Canon F1 with a 17mm fisheye lens with a roll of GCH tree pan, and I got my Rolleiflex with a Rolla Ektar.
So you are mainly a Canon shooter. This is your first time with the FM2s. What's your experience so far?
I have to keep remembering to pop the lever out before I take a picture. That's new. I've never had to do that before. But I'm happy with the lenses. I'm happy with the metering. Things are going well.
Nice. And Fomapan 200, that's one I've always had a bit of trouble with. How are you planning on processing it?
I'm probably just going to run it through HC110B for 6 minutes. I know the massive dev chart says about, I think it's 3.5 minutes, but that just seems woefully underdeveloped to me.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting it on the darker side, and I'm going to push it a little bit in the HC110B.
Nice. Okay, so what cameras do I have with me today? Well, today I actually brought 3 cameras. The first one was my Crown Graphic, but I used that before the meet. The second one is a Canon AE1. It's a beautiful consumer camera that is actually historically significant and weird because I'm a Nikon shooter. And then my main camera today was the Nikon F5 with the 85mm lens. And I really enjoy that camera, and I'm getting back into that 85mm focal length. I think my biggest problem is that I was using it on a crop sensor body. And the film that I shot through the F5 is Cinestill BWXX. This is a beautiful film. I love the cinematic feel of it, and I think it suits it well. And the reason I went with the 85mm lens is I primarily wanted to take pictures of people, which is something that I am actually terrible with at these photo walks. But you know what? The reason is that the TFS group is most important because of the people who attend. To actually attend one? Well, the nice thing is attending a photo walk is actually the easiest part of the job. So here are a couple of tips. First of all, run light. 1-2 cameras maximum. I know that I've broken that rule a couple times, but these days it's more important to bring a few good lenses with you, maybe a nice zoom lens and plenty of film, because there may not be an opportunity to stop along the way. Be on time. Your host has given you a time frame in which they want to run thing and a start time for the meetup. Try and be there as early as possible, early if possible, if not on time. Be nice to them. They are putting themselves out there to host, organize, and plan these events, and it does take a lot of effort sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. But just be nice. Don't moan or gripe about the location or the timing or anything. It's just, it gets hard sometimes to handle all that. Now, I've been doing a lot of stuff on the internet for a while, so I've grown a bit of a thick skin. But if it's a new person who is doing it, they might not have that thick skin yet. So go easy on them. Be helpful. If you do have a great suggestion for a location, offer the person to run it. I know that I wouldn't have done as much with the Toronto Film Shooters if it hadn't been for the idea that I wanted to make this bigger than myself. So I've opened it up to allow almost anyone within the group to plan out an event. They just need to follow the guidelines. Start with coffee and with beer, and just to have fun. And I'm actually really grateful of the work that Bill Smith and John Meadows has been doing with organizing and keeping the group alive and actually thriving more, because they've been doing this about once a month now, not just 4 times a year. So I'm going to give them a lot of credit for that. But the number one thing to do when you're at a photo walk is to just have fun. Well, folks, that about covers it for today's episode. Thank you, everyone who continues to make the Toronto Film Shooters Group and the Classic Camera Revival so amazing. And that is you, our viewers and our listeners, and those who attend the events, those who simply participate by posting their images, their latest gear acquisition in the group, those who use the Toronto Film Shooters Meetup tag on Instagram. Every single one of you, whenever you post, if you post every day, if you post once a year, it doesn't matter in the end, because the important thing is that you participate. And I don't think this group would have lasted 10 years if it wasn't for that. And that's what makes this group so incredibly special. I really wish that I could dedicate more time to come out to events to help plan more, but I am so grateful of the work that Bill Smith and John Meadows has done to keep the group going and to really expand. It's not a group for everybody. We are a little bit on the older side of things, and we do like our photo walks, we like our craft beer, we like our coffee, we like getting out early. But the nice thing is that we aren't the only game in town. There's also the Toronto Analog Friends. They're a much younger crowd that is sort of aimed at that sort of group. It's much more social. They do walks every so often. You can find them on Instagram, and you will find that account linked below in the episode notes and the video description. So until next time, my name's Alex Lokes. Get out there, stay safe. Photography might be a lonely hobby, but sometimes it's always good to have friends. So if you can find that group, stick with it. All right? Take care, everyone.